been trying to talk people into that for the last 4 or 5 years. Let me start by introducing one of my bosses, Bob Martin, member of the Board of Regents, and he's come with Vic Scarano, who is a success story. They're going to have to leave early, so they're not leaving in protest. Vic got an MBA in 2006, and he's currently now the CEO at Goldbelt here in Juneau. And by the way, at that same course, his now wife also got an MBA, and he told me before that he looked around and he said, "That's the smartest person in this whole cohort, so I think I'll try to make her a work partner," and they're still working. That was just a great story. It usually happens to people at college. You meet a mate, but not always in an MBA. But we're very proud of you. Alumnus does good. And I'm going to tell you some stories about that as we go forward. I'm going to tell you a story. It's a personal story. I want to tell you, just give you a peek into why I absolutely love the University of Alaska. About 9.5 years ago, I got a very interesting phone call. I was a Major General in the United States Army. I was the head of Army recruiting for the world. And got a call from a member of the Board of Regents who said, "We would like you to submit your name to be the president of the university." And I said, "Well, you need to understand, I've only had 3 years of teaching experience at the college level in my whole life, and I only have a master's degree, no terminal degree." And he said, "Well, apply anyway." So I did, and it happened. You know, I had enough experience in terms of running large organizations. I had 12,000 people working for me, $1 billion enterprise, had in today's terms a $300 million advertisement budget. So I felt fairly comfortable in terms of magnitude. Testified in front of Congress, testified in front of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so I figured I could testify in front of the legislature without sweating too profusely. But there's a lot more to being at a university than understanding the business side of this and the public relations side of it. I had some questions. What about those professors? I just hear all sorts of terrible things about college professors. What are they going to be like? I worried about the students. I taught for 3 years at West Point, where the students stand up at attention and salute their professor. There's 12 of them in a class, and in those days, the average SAT score was about 1,300. This is pretty user-friendly. Pretty user-friendly. So what about the students? What are they going to look like? What about researchers? Because I'd never actually seen one. Okay, I mean, are these people that are just, you know, too smart to even talk to, live in an ivory tower? Also wondered about the community. Best 2 assignments I ever had in the Army were assignments to Alaska. And they were great because, not just of the tremendous training areas that we have here, but because the communities really embraced the military and brought it in. I thought, wonder what they do with their university. How close are they? How much support can we get? Well, the answers to those questions came very quickly, and they have grown over time. I'm just going to hit on one of those for you because I want to talk about some other things today. But I'll tell you, the faculty we have at the University of Alaska are absolutely magnificent. They change people's lives. I have explained to critics, some in this very town, who say, "My goodness gracious, these people, I mean, they have tenure, they only teach, 3 courses. I mean, this doesn't sound like a job." I've informed these folks that assuming that the job of a professor is reflected by the number of course credits they teach is roughly the equivalent of assuming a legislator's job only takes place when they're on the floor voting. These people are involved. As a matter of fact, you just got to see a demonstration of it. A professor, but they're also involved in the community, serving on boards. There is a community within the university itself where we have to have everything from curriculum committees to student success committees and initiatives that take up an enormous amount of time. We've added more than 100 courses, programs. Thank you, John. You corrected me yesterday. I'll get it right this time. More than 100 programs since I've been at the university. And of course, I did none of them. Every one of them had to be written by the faculty, researched by the faculty, argued and fretted over by the faculty, some of them with distance delivery pieces involved, tremendous amount of work. In the meantime, they've got to keep up with their ever-evolving discipline. They have to do their research. They're the most scrutinized group you can possibly imagine. Annual reviews, tenure reviews, promotion reviews, post-tenure reviews, department reviews, institutional accreditations, and many, many, many more. And it's a very, very productive faculty. I'm going to give you one specific example. At the University of Alaska Fairbanks, we have 184 full-time equivalent research faculty, because some just do it on pieces, so we lump them together. This is as if they were only doing research. It would be the equivalent of 184. Those individuals earn on the average, attract, compete, and win on the average $616,000 in grants and contracts. Now, let me tell you how remarkable that is. If you just took raw dollars, UAF would have the 95th, they'd be number 95 in terms of research expenditures in the nation. But if you eliminated from that list everybody that has a medical school, they'd be 14. If you took from that list all those schools that have at least 25,000 students, they'd be number 4. And their partners would be Caltech, MIT, and one other private engineering school that escapes me. When I tell you they're world class, I'm not making that up. That's not affection, that's inspection that tells you they are world class. By the way, that research produces 2,400 jobs and a $92 million payroll. If we were a business, if there were University of Alaska, Inc., we'd be the 5th largest employer in the state of Alaska, and we'd have the highest payroll in the entire state. And not one of those dollars I mentioned are state dollars. This is all money that has been attracted in competitive bids. And let me emphasize competitive bids, because it's about this time Alaskans start cranking through their head. Our primary sources of competitive contracts are NIH and NSF. We have exactly 0 earmarks from those groups. All competitive. I've been death on it ever since I got here. You don't survive with earmarks. You survive with the keenness that is needed to compete. And our people compete. Now, it takes investment in order to make that happen. And when I talk about investment, I'll just give you one example that deals with this same area. When I got here, we were not involved at all with NIH. This is why, you know, that list, you went from 95 to 14 if you take away the ones with the medical school. NIH is an enormous funding resource for research. I said, we've got to get ourselves involved with it. We looked into and applied for an EPSCoR grant, required $1 million match. It's the only money I've ever gotten for research from the state. Tried desperately, but they did that. They gave me $1 million to meet that EPSCoR match. We invested as we could, the best we could at the university. The end result of that is our grants and contracts from NIH have exceeded $65 million since 2004.